you been lied to for many years? Is brisket really as hard as they tell us it is? Have we just been doing it wrong? Today we're going to go over what I think might be the biggest secret pitmasters have for brisket, and it's going to make your life a whole lot easier if it works. Let's jump in. Briskets have to be cooked for a long time to break down all those connective tissues within it, because it's really the meat that holds up the front of that cow. Unlike humans, they don't have collarbones, and so those briskets really take on the structure and support of their upper body. And so they have a lot of collagen and connective tissues within it. That's why we cook it low and slow, hot and fast, but either way, we're cooking it over a long period of time to keep it from being really chewy. Those connective tissues and collagens break down after 130 degrees. And they really don't stop as long as it stays over 130 degrees. That's why those long holds and even low and slow cooks work so well to produce such a juicy and tender brisket. We know that broken down collagen has the affinity or the ability to absorb water 10 times more than when it's not broke down. It turns into gelatin, and let me tell you, if you like that rich, silky smooth bite of a fatty brisket, you're really gonna like when you break down that collagen properly. So I have an idea. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've been watching a lot of my friend Al's videos on Eat More Vegans. And I noticed last time he went to Goldie's, Johnny mentioned that he wasn't sure if a long hold made any difference. I know that it makes a difference, but I want to see if it makes a difference on the cook as a whole. I want to see if that hold makes everything so much easier that I don't even temp it or probe it for tenderness before I set it up for a rest overnight. In this theory, I'm going to be cooking on my Old Country Smoker offset in my Pecos that I've heavily modified. And we're going to be using some pecan logs from Gourmet Wood, and we're just going to cook it until the bark looks right. From there, I'm going to wrap it in foil and put it in my food warmer overnight at 160 degrees. And we're going to see how it turns out. Now, I'm going to be using a select brisket, so either this is going to turn out really impressive or really badly. But either way, we'll figure out a use for it.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
It'd be good just to hold them down by your side.
We're not going to be doing an in-depth brisket trim like we would for a competition. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and flat. I'm just going to make sure that it's an even size so that it cooks evenly. I'm going to make sure that our fat cap isn't massive, and we're just going to knock off the sharp corners and hit it with some Uncle Steve Shake SPG. Go from there. Like I said, this is a select brisket. I did get it on sale recently from United or Market Street, depending on where you're at in Texas. For some reason, HEB didn't do brisket sales this season, but that's all right. This is a really cold piece of meat. It is almost frozen, and that's how I like my meat, nice and stiff. So let's start it on the fat side, and immediately I see this giant decal fat here, and this super loose point side. So we're just going to cut that off immediately. I don't want to cut all the fat off. I've been really liking a little bit over a 1/4 inch down on my flats, but not much more. I still trim off the fat. I don't want it to be super fatty, and I want the salt from the rub to really penetrate the meat. If I'm cooking low and slow, I do like a little bit more of a fat cap. If I'm going hot and fast, I'm going to cut down a little bit more. See over here, it's about the same. Shave a little bit off right here. Call that good. All right. Flip it over. A little discolored. A little bit of that off there. This is kind of an odd shaped brisket, to be honest with you, to begin with. All right. Shape up this point some, and we'll be ready to cover it up with some Uncle Steve Shake and start our fire up. All right, I think that's where I'm leaving it. I'm gonna just kind of get it tacky, rub on it some. Beef fat melts at a lower temperature than other animals, so it's pretty easy to get it tacky, enough to get some salt to stick to it. I do like binders. I don't mind using binders. I'm just not using one right now. Again, we're going to be using Uncle Steve's All-American SPG, and we're just going to hammer down with it, man. Hammer it down with it. We're going to cover it hard and heavy. Al's going to be doing a comparison video of not worrying about the sides and not worrying about the overnight rest, and do it exactly how Jerby said he thinks he could do it and it'd be fine, and compare it to making sure you get everything coated and making sure that you give it a proper overnight rest. Now, you can eat these things without it, don't get me wrong, but we're not talking about if it's okay. We're talking about if it's better. Nobody that I know is like, yeah, it's mediocre. I'm good with that. I really like to see what I can do better every time. So we got nice heavy coating Uncle Steve's SPG all the way around this thing. I love seeing those black pepper flakes. I'm a huge black pepper fan. I'm going to let this sit. We're going to go light up our smoker. Got some oil-soaked rags that I just usually store them in there. I figure that oil will be good for the bottom of the fire basket, and it gives me a place to store them that the dogs won't chew on them too much. We're going to be running this fire a little bit different than normal. I'm just going to be using wood only. Usually I start it with lump coal, but I'm not going to use the basket today. So I'm going to use some of these bigger blocks from this box from Gourmet Wood. They have normally these, and that's what the biggest majority of this box is. And these are perfect for the old country pecos, diameter and length. Absolutely love it. I'm just going to place these in there, 2 like this, 1 on top, and get it rolling. I'm going to be placing this brisket on here, point side towards the fire. Now, we're not quite to the bed of coals point of this fire yet. I found it is true you can start a brisket with a little bit dirtier fire because it is going to be burning for a long time. And I found that if you have good wood from a good source that is seasoned properly, it's not going to have that creosote bitter flavor. It does have a more rich smoke flavor, and I kind of like that. From here on out, when it turns into a bed of coals, we're going to be having a clear blue smoke and a super clean fire. So I'm not real worried about the first half hour of what's probably going to be. I'm going to pull this when I like the bark. I'm not going to probe it for tenderness. I'm not going to probe it for temperature. And yeah, I think it's going to be 4 to 5 hours. We'll see. 21 hours later, we've got our brisket out on our cutting board. I'm getting ready to open it up. I am just as excited as I hope that you are to see how this turns out. Remember, the theory was that we don't have to cook it to probe tenderness or to temperature. We can cook it until we like the bark on our offset smoker, and that's exactly what we did. We cooked it about 250 degrees for 5 hours on our Old Country Pecos using our gourmet wood products, pecan smoking wood, and we built up a beautiful bark on it. And when I decided I liked it, I wrapped it up in foil and I placed it in our food warmer at 160 degrees. We left it there for 16 hours. It's time to open it up, see how it turned out. Just feeling this thing with my hands as I pulled it out, it does feel like a finished brisket by squeezing it. And the smell is phenomenal. We did use foil instead of like paper, but I ain't mad about it. Look at that. Still has a beautiful bark. I was worried about the foil messing up the bark, but I'm getting that hint of pepper from Uncle Steve's Shake SPG, and man, it smells so good. Get some gloves on here because it is still a little bit warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. It's handleable, but I don't want to get towel all over my hands. So, lots of good jus there. We'll save that for later. That fat is nice and soft on top. This point was really large. I don't know if you remember that, but we got a point that comes all the way from there to here. So I'm going to take a slice kind of right here. It's cutting really nicely. Wow. Take one slice out of the middle. Let's see. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Nice little smoke ring. Very juicy. Yeah. Let's see how it pulls. Great bark on it still. Cheers. It eats very easily. Has a great mouthfeel. That fat is rendered beautifully. Just absolutely great flavors coming from that fat. I'm going to have another bite. I think that settles it, folks. This is a really easy way to cook a really good brisket, and it's going to be tender and juicy. This is a select brisket. Super cheap, not very fatty, and it's very silky, rich, juicy, and delicious. Look, no temperature probes has touched this brisket. I haven't probed it for tenderness. I haven't checked the temp, not a single time. Cook it in the offset smoker until I got the bark I wanted, wrapped it up, threw it in the food warmer for about, I don't know, 12, 16 hours. Pretty good. I'll see if I can't replicate this again. And if so, I think we've found a little secret that Pitmasters have been keeping from us. If you like what you heard here, make sure you like, you subscribe, comment down below if you've ever done this, or if you know somebody who's done it. Oh yeah, watch another video for me. I love you. Drink more water.